President Donald Trump is a shoo-in for the Nobel Peace Prize. Everybody's saying it. And yesterday, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, was at the White House where he handed President Donald Trump a letter that he wrote to the Nobel Committee nominating him for the Nobel Peace Prize.
The president has already realized great opportunities. He forged the Abraham Accords. He's forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much. Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, baby.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
You know, when you look at what President Donald Trump has been able to accomplish, not just in Israel with Iran and the bombing of Iran to denuclearize them, but also in the Congo and with Pakistan and India and all of the various different disagreements, you might say, or the conflicts that he's been able to quell or at least bring under control in a very short period of time. Definitely, when you couple that with the fact that he had 4 years of peaceful presidency, peacefully presiding over the United States and the entire world the first time around, seems like it's a shoo-in, doesn't it? And if Donald Trump doesn't get the Nobel Peace Prize this time around, well, clearly it's all political. The important thing to remember is that this is all political. So we shall see. But if President Donald Trump does not get the Nobel Peace Prize, even after this letter by Benjamin Netanyahu, then clearly it's rigged, it's fixed, and the Nobel Peace Prize will mean absolutely nothing for anyone in the future who wins it. President Donald Trump welcomed Bibi Netanyahu from Israel, the prime minister, to the White House the first time I believe they've seen each other in person since the very successful military action in Iran.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor to have Bibi and Sarah with us, friends of mine for a long time, and we had a tremendous success together. And I think it will only go on to be even greater success in the future. So it's really nice to have you at the White House. It's nothing like the White House, and it's great to have you both and all of your wonderful people, Ron. We've worked together for a long time, and we've done well together. We had a great time. I would say it's a lot of work, but we had a great result recently. And we're going to have a lot of great results. So it's great to have you. Thank you very much.
And they also talked to the media, as Donald Trump is prone to do whenever, he's awake. If Donald Trump is awake, he's going to be talking to the press. He's going to be taking questions from the press. And one of the things they talked about was Iran, because that is the number one most notable thing that Israel and the United States of America have done combined together in the last, a month and a half or 6 months, rather. So here's a reporter asking, what is going on with Iran? Are they coming to the table? Will there be peace talks? Will there be more action?
We have scheduled Iran talks, and they want to talk. They took a big drubbing, I think, when we hit the three sites, really. I would say the three sites, not just the one. The one was the big one, and it was deep in granite, and it was obliterated. It turned out the Atomic Energy Commission said it is obliterated. I would just want to take our hats off to those incredible flyers, the people that flew that big machine, and frankly, the mechanics and everybody else. I mean, they had zero. They flew for 37 hours with zero problem mechanically. I mean, when you think in carrying the biggest bombs ever, the biggest bombs that we've ever dropped on anybody, when you think non-nuclear, and we want to keep it non-nuclear, by the way.
By the way, yeah, and that is something that's very important. And Donald Trump going in to say, once again, we do have the greatest military, not just the operators of the airplanes and the bombardiers, but also the people on the ground, the mechanics who make sure that those planes are flying, and they're flying without any kind of fault or without any kind of mechanical disruption. I wish some of those mechanics would go work in the commercial airline industry. Maybe one day they will. And then he was asked, look, are we done with Iran, or would we potentially drop even more of those big, beautiful bombs on the place?
On future Iran strikes, what might make you have the desire to do another strike on Iran?
Another what?
Another strike on Iran.
I hope we're not going to have to do that. I can't imagine wanting to do that. I can't imagine them wanting to do it. They want to meet. They want to work something out.
Can you say
they're very different now than they were 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and that is something that President Donald Trump believes in his heart of hearts. It's a different country. They don't have the nuclear capability. They won't have the nuclear capability, and they understand that the rest of the world now will not let them have the nuclear capability. As I've always said, it's not just the response of the United States and Israel, it's the response of the rest of the world, and none of these so-called allies that I think Iran was counting on came to their aid. Russia and China, they had some harsh words, but they didn't really do anything militarily. And so Iran realizes they are one man alone in an island, and nobody is coming to their rescue. One of the other topics that popped up was Syria and President Donald Trump lifting the sanctions on Syria, which a lot of people have said has been kind of a contentious moment for the two world leaders. Again, Bibi Netanyahu, not a big fan of Syria, doesn't want the sanctions lifted and doesn't want the United States in any way, shape, or form to take the foot off the gas when it comes to handling Syria, because they also hate Israel. They are a state sponsor of terror, and they are a huge threat in the area. But President Donald Trump says, look, you got to take off the sanctions if you want to move toward peace.
At the request of a lot of countries in the surrounding area of the Middle East, including Bibi, we took the sanctions off Syria, and I met the new leader. I was very impressed by him. And somebody said, well, he comes from a very tough background. I said, well, I'm not that surprised. It's a tough part of the world. But I was very impressed by him. But we took the sanctions off because we want to give them a chance. They would never have had a chance without the sanctions. And one of the things we have with Iran is, we have they call they are very biting sanctions. And I would love to be able to, at the right time, take those sanctions off, give them a chance at rebuilding, because I'd like to see Iran build itself back up in a peaceful manner and not going around saying death to America, death to the USA, death to Israel, as they were doing. They were the bully of the Middle East, and now they're not the bully anymore. But they were saying terrible things, and would like to see them. They have such potential. They have the oil power, and they have great people, smart people, energetic people, amazing. And I know so many Iranians from New York. I have a lot of friends, and they're great people. So it's a shame when you see a thing like this happen. But I think that taking the sanctions off of Syria is going to give Syria a great shot at making it.
And speaking of New York, Zohran Mamdani, who is the crazed Islamic left-wing lunatic socialist who's currently in the lead for the mayor's race, which is scary on a lot of different reasons, is something that Donald Trump has been watching very closely. Also, Benjamin Netanyahu. Why? Well, Zohran Mamdani, again, who's leading the race for mayor of New York City, which has the largest Jewish population of any city in the country, I think, outside of Israel, really in the world outside of Israel. Zohran Mamdani is a threat not just to the United States, not just to New Yorkers, but to the entire world. And so that's a subject that also came up over dinner yesterday.
This is a communist. He's not a socialist. He's a communist. And he said some really bad things about Jewish people, and he said some really bad things about a lot of people. And I think he's going through a little bit of a honeymoon right now, but he might make it. But, it all comes through the White House. He needs the money through the White House. He needs a lot. He's going to behave. He'll behave. He better behave. Otherwise, he's going to have big problems. But it's a philosophy that this country is not ready for, and it never will be.
And that is something that Donald Trump knows he has the power to stop. He's already threatened Zohran Mamdani. He's already threatened New York. He said, look, this is not the person you want in place of the city. It's going to be devastated. We're not going to give you any federal funds. He's going to ask for stuff, and he's probably not going to get it because unless, of course, he changes his politics and he works in a way that is beneficial to all New Yorkers and drops this whole sanctuary status and this sanctuary nonsense and works with federal agents instead of against them, works with Tom Homan instead of threatening him and attacking him in public. Speaking of which, there were some public attacks on Border Patrol agents. There were some public attacks on ICE members. And Caroline Levitt in the press briefing yesterday, she was asked about one of the situations in Texas.
An armed shooter today was shot in McAllen, Texas, after opening fire on Border Patrol agents. Comes just days after Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal recently said she gets, quote, inspired when activists obstruct ICE. Does the White House expect Democrats to tone down their rhetoric in light of what we saw today in McAllen, Texas?
We certainly call on Democrats to tone down their rhetoric against ICE and Border Patrol agents who, again, are everyday men and women. I would encourage AOC and other Democrats to actually meet with the United States Border Patrol. These are honorable Americans who are just simply trying to do their job to enforce the law. They go home to their families every night just like we all do, and they deserve respect and dignity for trying to enforce our nation's immigration laws and to remove public safety threats from our communities. The White House is aware of the shooting that took place today in Texas, and we are working with the appropriate federal agencies to get to the bottom of what happened.
Yeah, she was much more subdued and calm than Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller, the deputy chief of staff, in charge of immigration and border control, was on Fox News, and he lit into Democrats, saying that this is a terrible situation that the Democrats are exacerbating and probably even excited about.
There is an insurrectionist movement in the Democratic Party that is inspiring domestic terrorism against ICE. When you have the mayor of Los Angeles mobilizing agitators, mobilizing the mob against ICE, saying that federal law enforcement has to leave her city, this is a settled constitutional question. Federal law is the supreme law of the land. You cannot nullify it. You cannot succeed from it. It is the law of the United States of America. So these insurrectionist Democrats are every day engaging in rhetoric that is incentivizing, that is encouraging, that is fomenting violent terrorist attacks against ICE and ICE officers. Not only in the shootings that you've seen recently, but ICE officers are being doxxed. Their families and children are being threatened. Their addresses are being posted online. They are being subjected to a campaign of terror by these radical Democrats.
And it's just getting worse. In fact, what happened yesterday in Texas wasn't just an attack on ICE agents, but it was an ambush, as the deputy attorney in the area said here. Her name is Nancy Larson. Listen to what she explained was planned and almost executed in this ICE attack by these agitators.
We're here to tell you that late at night on July 4th, Friday night at approximately 10:37 p.m. at the Prairieland ICE Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas, 10 to 12 individuals dressed in black military-style clothing began shooting fireworks and engaging in acts of vandalism at the facility. And this was part of an organized attack. Today, my office has charged 10 individuals with 3 counts of attempted murder of a federal officer. Each of the 10 are also charged with 3 counts of discharging a firearm in relation to a crime of violence. Each of these defendants faces a mandatory prison term of 10 years and up to life in prison. An additional co-conspirator was charged with obstruction of justice and conspiracy for attempting to conceal and destroy evidence in relation to the attack.
Okay, so here's what you've got. You've got Democrats in Congress who are urging agitators to take action, who say they get inspired whenever they see ICE agents being harassed by the public. And now you've got a planned assault with 10 military-style, or 10 people clad in military-style garments who have assaulted with fireworks and other things, who are working on obstructing justice by destroying evidence after the fact. This is no longer just a group of angry protesters. This is now what appears to be, as Stephen Miller put it so eloquently, a military insurrection mounted by Democrats against federal agents. And the Democrat Party has basically succumbed to criminality. They realize that they can no longer win at the ballot box. They realize their efforts and their ideas can no longer win over voters. So now they've just become criminals, and they are enticing, and they are encouraging, and they are planning, and they are executing these criminal activities against federal agents who they disagree with. It's a devolution of a party that we thought we would never see, and hopefully it will be the end of the Democrat Party as we know it, because there can be no return from lawmakers in Congress who are supposed to be making laws, encouraging their constituents to break the laws. Tom Homan, the border czar, said, look, we've got to tone down that. We've been talking forever about how the Democrats are making this issue way worse.
I've been warning about this for 2 months. I think the last time I did your show, Laura, we talked about it. I also talked about it in the Hannity show that I've been around a long time. I said if the rhetoric didn't decrease significantly, it's going to end up with loss of life. It's going to end up with a use of force, either against a protester turning criminal or against ICE or Border Patrol agent. Someone's going to be seriously injured, if not killed. And of course, the media attacked me. Fear monger home, and he's threatening that someone's going to die. Look, I've been around a long time. You got members of Congress, Jayapal, comparing them to terrorists. AOC says we're out there violating people's civil and constitutional rights. You got Jeffries out there running his mouth about the Gestapo. And it just the ramped up rhetoric is going to cause a situation where someone loses their life. We saw that today. I was hoping I'd be wrong, but I wasn't. And I'll tell you something else. It's not the end. Unless we stop the hateful rhetoric against ICE and Border Patrol, comparing them to Nazis, there's going to be more situations like that. ICE has already stepped up enforcement posture at their facilities. Border Patrol's done the same thing. But the rhetoric has to stop. They're simply enforcing law that Congress enacted. So for Congress to attack them, to enforce them the laws they wrote, it's ridiculous. It's going to end in bloodshed. And I think there will be more bloodshed.
He's probably right about that, because the Democrats have actually called for that. An Axios article yesterday said that the Democrats want their representatives to bleed. They want their Democrats to go harder and break even more laws. It's really a violent philosophy that has no business anywhere in our government system. But alas and unfortunately, there it is. One more story quickly that we brought up yesterday, very briefly, that the White House commented on. Caroline Leavitt and President Donald Trump both released comments, was the Epstein files, or the Epstein client list, and the press release released by Pam Bondi and Kash Patel from the FBI and the DOJ, that stating that there was no Epstein client list, that there was no evidence that he blackmailed high-profile individuals, and that there was no evidence of him being murdered in his jail cell, that he killed himself. All of these things that really flew right in the face of what a lot of President Donald Trump supporters were expecting, and really disappointed a lot of the MAGA faithful. Caroline Leavitt was asked about that at the White House press briefing. Here's what she said.
DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list. What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable, and I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. And the Trump administration is committed to truth and to transparency. That's why the Attorney General and the FBI Director pledged at the President's direction to do an exhaustive review of all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and his death. And they put out a memo in conclusion of that review. There was material they did not release because, frankly, it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's transparency.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that is something that is continuing. The back and forth after that release by the DOJ and the FBI has continued to cause waves with a lot of President Donald Trump supporters. President Donald Trump himself coming out with a post on Truth Social saying that the FBI, under the direction of Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino, is back to the basics, locking up criminals and cleaning up America's streets. We have the greatest law enforcement professionals in the world, but politics and corrupt leadership often prevented them from doing their job. That is no longer the case, and now they have been unleashed to do their jobs, and they are doing just that. Keep it up, make America safe again. So President Donald Trump coming to the rescue of the reputations of Kash Patel and Director Dan Bongino. He did not, however, mention Pam Bondi in that post. I don't know if she'll be getting her own post, or if Donald Trump is not in a position right now to come to her aid as well. I don't know. We will continue to watch this story as it continues to unfold. In the meantime, later today, I'll be bringing you my second daily podcast where we will have more of this information as it unfolds. It's called Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Every single day we do not one, not two podcasts, not one, but two podcasts, because two are better than one. And if you want to catch it live, you can do so at 1:00 p.m. Eastern time. We live stream on Facebook and Rumble and YouTube all over the place. Or you can download the podcast and listen at your leisure. Go to your favorite podcast platform. Search Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Download, listen, and enjoy.